A really fun way to keep your students engaged in this time of online learning is to create a digital breakout box experience for them. Perhaps you have been to or heard of an escape room where you work together as a team with other people to find clues, to solve riddles, to find combinations to locks, to break out of a room in a set amount of time. Or perhaps um, you have heard of Breakout EDU, which creates physical black boxes that you can lock up with different types of locks with different types of combinations to create an interactive, inquiry-based, problem-solving kind of educational experience for your students with a physical breakout box. But in the absence of a breakout room or a breakout box in this time of online learning, you can create a similar experience with a digital breakout box. And just a word about the many different types of topics that you could create a digital breakout box experience with. This is the Breakout EDU site, and you can see that there's just lots of different categories of games. And so it's just a matter of what you are teaching and what you want to reinforce, what you want to celebrate with your students. Topics can range from math to science to reading and can be as complex or as simple as you want. You could create a box on Shakespeare's Macbeth or Winnie the Pooh, or ancient Egypt, or fractions, or volcanoes, or animal classification. It's just a matter of your imagination. So you would just start with your story or your topic and work backward from your locks and build your clues around the locks. So I'm going to show you two different ways that you can create a digital breakout experience for your students, one using Google Sites and one using Google Forms. So a colleague of mine and I worked together to create a digital breakout experience for a group of fifth graders. They had just finished the novel A Night Divided as part of their book groups. So we wanted to create this breakout experience for them. A Night Divided is about a girl who escapes from the repressive regime in East Germany and literally digs a tunnel under the Berlin Wall. So just to show you the two different ways and some of the different features of Google Sites or Google Forms, I will compare the one I made and with the one that Graham made. So I created my breakout experience using Google Sites. So what you would do is you'd go to sites.google.com. So let me just go there a minute. And I just went down here to New Google Sites. Here's the different ones I've created, and you could go to the plus to make a new one, but I'm going to show you the one that I made called Escape from the GDR. So what I did is I set up my home page as the place where the story or the topic is set up. So if I just go over here to insert, I inserted a text box and just kind of left a little story about how they've stumbled into a time warp and they've been transported back to East Berlin, and they have 45 minutes to solve the clues and find their contact who will smuggle them out. And the advantage of using Google Sites is you can have on your homepage the story, and you can embed a Google form where they will submit their answers to their locks, the different combinations. But then you can put the clues as different pages on the site. The advantage of that is the students don't have to work on them necessarily in order. If they're struggling with clue number 1, they can go on to clue number 2 or go to clue number 3 and kind of work their way back and forth. But once they have settled on an answer, they would find the form on the home page. And in the absence of a physical lock, you're going to want to let the students know what they need to submit for an answer, what they're looking for. So for example, lock number 1, I said you're going to need 4 cardinal directions and use words. Lock number 2, combination of 7 letters, symbols, and numbers, and so on and so forth. So just to give you an example of what a clue might look like, we'll look at clue number 1 that goes with lock number 1. And remember, we're looking for 4 cardinal directions. So I will navigate over to my page. And if you were to set up a new page, you just go over here to pages and go to the plus. But we're going to go to clue number 1 page. And remember, my tools I have are to insert a text box, insert images. I can embed a video and upload something from Google Drive. So here's my image of the Berlin Wall, and my clue number 1 refers to the Yalta Conference. So the students are directed to read a little bit about how Germany was divided up after World War II and the 4 countries that took possession of Germany. And they're directed to look at this map, which has different numbers on it for the different regions of Germany and which country was controlling each region. And then they'll have to look at the bigger map of Europe and see how Berlin is circled. And they'll have to somehow figure out that they need to come up with 4 directions of the countries that are occupying in relationship to Berlin. So they would come up with north, south, east, or west, or whatever order. And once they figured that out, then they would go back to the home page and insert it into the Google form. Okay, so they would continue to work through the clues like that until they had all 4 of their locks completed, and then they would hit submit on the Google form. So that is how you would do a breakout experience using Google Sites. But my colleague Graham did one on the same topic, the same novel, A Night Divided, but he used a Google form instead. So let me go back a minute. So he set his up like this, and you can insert photos like he did, and he gave them a few instructions at the beginning, and then they would go next. And here would be lock number 1. The book begins with Gerda recounting the day she'd remember for the rest of her life, when a prison had been built around us as we slept. And Graham inserted a photo of a lock, directing the students to submit their own answer in the same kind of format with a date, a month, and a year. And they would put their answer in here, but they would not be able to continue to go forward to the next clue until they got this one correct. So they'd put in their answer and they'd hit next. Okay, so let me quickly show you how he probably set that up, or how you would set up your own. So if you go to your Google Drive, and let me just start a new one here a minute. New Google form. And let's just call this, let's just test. All right, and so what I would do is I would set up my first question here. I would give a little description about what this breakout experience is going to be. You can insert any photos too if you want. But when I get to my first question, or where I want them to submit an answer to a clue, I would go here where to add a question. Actually, sorry, let me just delete that, because this already has a question, but we're going to make sure that it is a short answer question. All right, and you want to make sure that it's a required question. And here's the key part. You want to choose response validation. And let's call this lock number 1. And I'm going to want it to be a 4-digit number. Okay. So we need to set up this question for them to correctly answer with a 4-digit number. So here are the different options for response validation, but we want to leave it on number, and we want to choose equal to, and this is where we'd put in the correct answer. And let's just say it's 1, 2, 3, 4. And then the custom error text is where if they were to plug in the wrong answer, you would give them a little message, or maybe part of the message could be a hint as to how they could find the right answer. So maybe I would say try again. And maybe I give a little hint, don't use commas, something to that effect. Okay. But then the key here, if you don't want them to be able to go on to the next question until they've finished the first one, you need to add a section break which is down here, the last tool here, add section. And then you can go ahead and give a little description, a little explanation in that section. And let's go ahead and add a question to this section. And let's make sure that it's short answer again. And let's just say the answer to clue number 2 is this time going to be a 5-letter word. Okay, so then we want to make this required again and do response validation. And this time, instead of number, we're going to pick regular expression. And we're going to say it matches. And whatever our 5-letter word is, let's say it's fence. Okay, and then custom error text. Maybe I want to give a hint. Don't use a capital. Something like that. And then you can go on like that and just keep adding new sections and adding new clues, as many as you'd like. Graham used 9, but you can do as many or little as you want, depending on how hard or how long you want this to be. But then before you're, like right at the very end, when you're done making all your clues, you're going to want to make sure you go up to settings and to presentation and add a little confirmation message like, congrats, you broke out, or whatever you want to say. Okay, so then when your students hit submit, they know that they're finished and that they successfully broke out. And then even in your settings, as the owner of this form, you'll be able to tell the amount of time that it took them before they submitted their form, so you'll be able to see how long it took them. Okay, so then when you wanted to share it, you would just hit send and get the shareable link and share it with your students. Also, if when you're ready to share the Google site, then you would go to publish, and similarly, you would just copy and paste the site's link to your students, and voila, they can have at their digital breakout. Now you might be wondering, okay, so how would I get them to work in groups on this? I just want to remind you that Zoom has the breakout room feature where you could divide students into groups. You could send one or all of them the link to the site or the form, and then as the meeting host, you can pop into each of the groups and see how the groups are doing and give them hints or however, whatever they might need. So this is just a really fun way to keep your students engaged since we're having to rely on digital technology for instruction, and you can do a wide variety of topics from the kindergarten level to the 12th grade level on many different themes or units or whatever. So good luck, and I hope that might work for you.